Welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast with author Sarah F. Hathaway and co-host Chen Gibson. Blending survival, fiction, and fact to bring you entertaining education that will help you dream, survive, and thrive. And now, here's your host, Sarah F. Hathaway and Chen Gibson.
Chapter 34. Before the sun began to set, Cole set eyes on the Las Vegas entry gates. What about the people we left behind, Barry wondered. We'll send squads out for them, Cole answered. What do you mean, wool? Are you going to join them again, Barry wondered. I'm not a landowner anymore. If I don't, I'll end up in the camp. You and Ginger will be housed with the landowners, Cole responded. He was so tired of trying to pick a side. At least as a merc, he had a clear mission. Look at all those people going into the camp, Ginger marveled. There were many more people made homeless in the flood, Ginger. Someone has to stabilize the chaos. Force is the only thing people will respect. Maybe we wouldn't be in this position if I had done that in Peach Springs. We tried to help. It was the right thing to do, Barry told him. We did, and they still robbed us blind, Cole said, heartbroken. Trying to change the mood, Chappie noted. There's the city. Looks like the line isn't so bad today. A federal soldier approached the truck as it came to a stop. What town are y'all from? We have people from Kingman and Peach Springs, Cole told him. Looking at his paperwork, the Fed instructed. Take your vehicles over to that line for refugee processing. The Fed pointed to a long line. Hold on a second, Cole countered. A large group of these people has landowner status, and these two men and I are part of the mercs. The Fed looked at Cole skeptically, making a sucking sound with his front teeth. Do you and your men have IDs? No, but Radio Sergeant Bingham. He'll vouch for me. The Fed smiled back smugly. He's clearing the city today. Let me get Captain Moreno on the line. Excellent, Cole replied, trying to sound confident. Fingers crossed this guy remembers us, Monroe commented quietly. Okay, the captain will see you and your two mercs, but everyone else get in the refugee line, the Fed instructed. Barry looked at Cole nervously. Virgis, what is going on here? We were supposed to get landowner status. Sharing his concern, Cole assured him. Sit tight, I'll get this straightened out. Barry and Ginger jumped out of the vehicle with their bags and headed towards a processing line. Cole turned the wheel to enter the fast track line and drove up to the gate. The gate clank sounded eerily depressing compared to the last time he heard it. Cole drove his truck to the back of the Luxor, where another federal soldier ushered them inside a refugee holding room. I got a bad feeling about this, Virgis, Chappie said quietly, smelling the bleach thick in the air. Just relax. I'll figure this out, Cole assured him. It's a lot easier to relax in a chair, Monroe commented, looking at the stark conditions of their room. They waited in awkward silence until the doorknob slowly turned. The large man they had seen with Bennett entered with a smug grin. The soldier accompanying him provided the captain with a chair. He huffed as he sat down to address the men standing stoically in front of him. Cole Virgis, Tim Monroe, and Bill Chappie. I am Captain Paul Moreno, and as you can imagine, I have a busy schedule and many things to attend to, Captain Moreno said bluntly. The soldier at the gate told the landowners from Peach Springs to get in the refugee line, Cole explained. The captain's words were cold as he replied, that town is listed as Badlands territory. They're refugees. And so are you, Mr. Virgis. Is Nicholton in town, Cole wondered. The mercs are out on roundup, making you men my responsibility. Trust me. We have special accommodations for soldiers who no longer want to fight, the captain expounded, rubbing his hands together. The sound of his voice sent a chill down Cole's back, and he never regretted his decision to leave more than he did at this moment. He had no response. He knew that his life was in this man's hands. To everyone's surprise, the door opened, and a federal soldier entered. The Fed bent down and whispered to the captain. The captain was obviously irritated by the soldier's message and rose to his feet. Excuse me for a minute, the captain instructed, leaving to discuss the issue outside the door. As the door closed, Chappie fretted. What's going on, sir? I don't know, but somehow we will get a message to General McClintock. We just have to go with the flow right now. And what about the people from Peach Springs? What about Ginger? Monroe asked. Right now, I'm more concerned with saving our own skins, Cole commented. The door opened and the captain returned momentarily. It appears I was mistaken. There is a Major General Barnes here to see you three. The captain left with a disgruntled look on his face. Oh, shit. Major General Barnes is here? Chappie said with concern. I don't want to end up in a cage, Virgis. But Ginger can. And you're cool with that, Monroe commented. Monroe, just relax. We'll figure this out, Cole snapped. The last time I saw Major General Barnes, we didn't exactly part on good terms. The door opened, and Major General Barnes seemed to fill the room as he entered. The men stood stiffly saluting Barnes. Virgis, Monroe, Chappie. At ease, men, Barnes commanded. Yes, sir, the men replied stiffly. I was on my way to find you when the tsunami hit, Barnes commented. My home was lost in the wave, Cole replied. We heard about the classification for Arizona well before the wave, Barnes explained. Chappie was surprised by the man's admission. You knew this was coming, sir? More or less, Barnes admitted. Arizona's lands aren't considered critical infrastructure. National triage, Monroe commented. Exactly. However, you three are highly decorated professionals. It would be a waste to lose you to the refugee system, Barnes admitted. Why didn't General McClintock send for us, Cole inquired. Because I wanted to come myself. I wanted to ask you myself to accept your ranks back, Barnes explained passionately. Thanks for making an effort, sir, Cole started to say, but Barnes cut him off. Before you say anything else, let me explain. The feds are putting us in charge of the Badlands. They will man Las Vegas, the California border checkpoint, and a southern checkpoint. We need a quality leader to oversee the refugee roundup here and maintain order once it's done. Virgis, you're the man for this job. If you don't take it, you're going into that camp. And who knows what will happen to all these free towns out here. Doesn't seem like we have much of a choice, Virgis commented. That's why I wanted to come myself. To show you that you are a respected member of the force. And it would be our honor to have you back, Barnes announced, extending his hand for a shake. Thank you, sir, Cole said, stepping forward to grip the man's hand. He turned around and asked his men, Monroe, Chappie, what do you think? I think we'd be morons if we didn't accept, sir, Chappie concurred. I second that, sir, Monroe agreed. Cole turned to address Barnes. Looks like you got yourself a deal, Major General Barnes. Very good, Major Virgis. We have housing accommodations set up for you three. We have 5 squads ready to assist. We'll meet again in the morning for further debriefing, but this will be your show, Major. In the meantime, get some chow and some rest. You'll find clean uniforms in your rooms. Thank you, sir. Your country thanks you for your service, Barnes replied before leaving through the door. Hello and welcome back to the Changing Earth podcast. This is episode 432, season 15, episode 34. Hey, Chin, what's up?
Shit's up, y'all. Man, why'd we have to stop?
I know.
It was on fire.
We were ripping it up in the green room. I might have to put that up for members if Doug doesn't mind. That was righteous. So we have L. Douglas Hogan in the house. Hey, Doug, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I'm doing good. Chen and Sarah, how's things going on your end?
Oh, man, I didn't mean to cut you off. I honestly, I was like, preach on, brother.
It's good. And I don't care if you include that later. It's totally cool.
Yeah, I'll put that up for members. That was fantastic intro to your new book and the projects that you're working on. So I can't wait to get a hold of that. That's awesome.
Cool. Can't wait to finish working on it.
All right. Yeah, another project. Trust me. I know I'm up against the walls with projects. So we're up to, what are we up to? Episode 12 in the Changing Earth audio drama. So Swenson's right behind her at the campfire, just waiting for Erica to walk back into the crowd. So that was a fun place to leave it for everyone. I'm surprised I haven't heard more about that. Maybe everybody's read my books. I don't know. But
You might have read the back of the books.
right, yeah, the back. Just go to the website. You get the 411 on them pretty quick. But no, you just got done with an event. You've been doing a bunch of classes, and so I'm interested to get you speaking to that because that kind of goes with our topic today. During the read, Virgis, he doesn't really feel he has any other recourse rather than to take everyone to the FEMA camp there in Las Vegas. So we'll get into the brainstorm of that scenario, but go ahead and let us know, what have you been working on? I want to hear about the Agenda 30 presentation that you did, and how you're blending that with the healthcare aspect and things like that, because that's really important right now.
Sure, because I don't know, a year or two ago, I was invited by Informed Health Choice Missouri to come out and talk on surviving martial law, and they heard about me from another group in Missouri. I can't remember that group. I'm sorry, Robert Halderman, if you're out there. I'm sorry I forgot the name of your group. But I went out to speak to them eventually at one point, and they heard of me from someone else. So it's been this kind of word of mouth thing. So I could get these invites from word of mouth. Mm-hmm. And so Informed Health Choice Missouri asked me to come out a year or two ago and talk on surviving martial law. And I did that. And then word got out to Guardians of Liberty, which I'm going to talk to them Tuesday on surviving martial law again. But in the meantime, I'm talking about
and you're teaching that class at Prepper Camp this year too, right? So
yes, exactly.
So if you guys want to get it, you got to get out there to Prepper Camp with us.
Yeah, right. And I'll have surviving martial law books there too. So if you don't want to order online, you just want to kind of wait for me, and then after the class, get an autographed version or whatever. That's really cool. Yeah. But Informed Health Choice Missouri reached out to me again, and they asked me to come out and talk to them on Agenda 30, and that became because last time I talked to them about surviving martial law, I brought up Agenda 21, which used to be the name of it, but now, since it didn't pass, thanks to President Donald Trump, it became Agenda 30, right? So I had mentioned that, and they said, can you come back and talk about that later? I said, absolutely. So, and then eventually they reached out to me and set up a date, and I made a little promotional video for them, and they plugged that in, and I just came back from a Agenda 30 class, which was the first time I ever taught that PowerPoint. And I always feel my first time is a little disorganized when I do a PowerPoint presentation, my teach off for the first time, because I usually I like to add things to it up until the day that I go and talk, because I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, it'd be good here, and I kind of add to it. Right. And then you're left thinking, well, maybe it wasn't all in the proper order. Maybe this could have transitioned smoother to this section, and that kind of a thing. But all in all, I got a lot of accolades from it, and so I'm pleased about that. And as I did with the Survivor Martial Law PowerPoint that I used to teach and turn that into a book, I'm going to take this PowerPoint, which is a lot bigger than an hour session that I was given to talk in. There's a lot more that I could put in there, because Agenda 30 is huge, and there's a lot going on with it. And there's a lot of moving cogs. There's a lot of organizations involved. There's a lot of things going into it that most people don't consider. And I just want to kind of take all that together and put it into a book and present that. And so the option later on down the road, if somebody wants a full 3 hour, 2 or 3 hour talk on it, well, that will be available. But for now, I'm working on this book. As I just told you guys, we were in the green room.
Yeah. It sounds phenomenal. I'm
kind of excited. I'm calling it The Program. So that if you see a book come out of mine called The Program, it's on Agenda 30.
And what, how did they, so for the audience out there that has no idea of what this says at all, can you do any kind of a summary, just to get them kind of caught up with just some of the main provisions of Agenda 21? It was basically the 15-minute cities and things like that. You'll own nothing and be happy about it, right? Is all part of that same, am I right? Or...
Well, I think that's the end result. The end result of Agenda 30 is smart cities, because then they control everything. At the point they get you into a smart city, this is the end game. Right now we're talking Mark of the Beast stuff. We're talking We're talking AI. We're talking Internet of Things. We're talking
total surveillance,
blockchains. We're talking everything condensed together into a smart city. So not only do you have the Internet of Things, look it up. If you don't know what Internet of Things is, if you don't know what blockchain is, if you don't know what these terms are, look them up because they're all going to be integrated into smart cities. And so in the end, this was prophesied over 2,000 years ago by John the Revelator. Read the book of Revelation. He talked about a mark that everybody will have to have in the right hand or in the forehead that they can't buy or sell unless they have this. And it's going to be, the Bible says, the number, it's called the mark of the beast, or the number of his name. What's a barcode? This is something I have in my PowerPoint presentation. You see all those little lines on a barcode underneath that are numbers.
Right.
So when you scan that at the cashier or your self-checkout, or wherever you choose, that number is scanned to the computer, and the computer reads that number, and that number correlates to the product. Everything you need to know about the product is in that number. Okay? So that number will be in a microchip that many organizations across the world are already using. So when you get this implant in your body with a number in it, every human generates an electromagnetic field. Okay? So that acts as a battery. So when this reader comes close to it, that electromagnetic field is charged and the battery turns on inside that little chip. And that number that's assigned to you goes to the reader and to the server and tells everything about you, your medical history, your finances, your family, where you've lived for the past 500 years, what you eat, what you buy, what movies, everything. Now imagine that in a smart city.
Yeah.
Your bank account can literally be turned off because your finances, everything are going to be plugged into this. That's why I'm saying this age of digital currency that we're going into is the end. It's the beginning of the end.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
There is no rights for any person in this world if the government controls your money.
So a counter argument that I've heard to digital currency, which was interesting, is like the elites out there are scandalous with their money, and they wouldn't want certain people tracking their transactions either. So why would they want a digital currency? I think there's some kind of a workaround that'll go on, right? Yeah. So.
Can you rephrase that? Because because now you're talking about, like, if you're talking about the same thing, I'm kind of hearing
like
it.
Because they are hiding money, laundering money, moving money in areas, the whole Biden scandal and all that, as far as,
that's
the family.
Where blockchain technology comes in. Blockchain technology cannot be altered, manipulated, adjusted, or changed.
Got you. So it gives them the jump through. In. Got you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I've been trying to identify the they for a long time. It's like this mystical, magical they, right? But I think it's rather apparent now who the they is. It is definitely a partnership between the corporations and the governments of the world. These elitist billionaires of the world in partnership with corporations, partnering with the governments to make this structure.
Where are you seeing they at?
Well, everybody always says how they control you. They. So who is the they, right?
Yeah.
That's what, it's like, okay.
The syndicate.
Right?
Who knows?
Yeah. And I've watched videos like on the cabal, stuff like that, but it's like, okay, you got, there has to be some kind of identification point. Probably the best thing for them is not having an identification point, because then there's nobody to hold accountable, which is one of the reasons why trusting the government is probably not a good idea at all.
No, because here's the thing: once power is taken, it's never given back.
Right.
Or let's if we allow somebody power over us. Let's say, for example, well, how many Star Wars fans we have in here? Remember when before Emperor Palpatine was an emperor, he was just a senator, and he manipulated the entire galaxy into a galactic federation, right? And then he became the emperor. Did he ever give that up? Did it ever go back to? It sounds like corny science fiction, but that's how it is. That's how it happened with Adolf Hitler. That's how it happened with Stalin. Once you get to a point where freedoms are given away, the government never gives them back.
Right, unless it's smashed into oblivion by somebody who cares. And we were kind of the last stand on that fighting against communism and not doing business with communist countries. And I guess that's just all out the window now because of greed.
Yeah. Because Ronald Reagan is gone.
Right. Yeah. Just it'd be perfect if there was no greed, because then everybody, the ideas, the socialist ideas, this idea of like, oh, well, you can trust somebody to take care of you. Sure. If there was no greed, that kind of thing. So
it's the root of all evil. The Bible, it's the love of money. What is the love of money? The love of money is greed. It's not money itself. Money is not, it's nothing. It's nothing, literally nothing but paper and metal currency. But it's the love of money is greed. And greed is the root of all evil, because every sin that we commit is based on some kind of greed, whether it's selfish. Well, it's all selfish.
Right.
All greed is selfish. All sin is selfish. It's what you want.
I agree. Yeah. Scary stuff, man. I'm glad you're raising the alarm flag there. Now, how did you twist it in with the healthcare? How did you put that spin to it? What kind of angle were you attacking to bring the healthcare aspect in?
I didn't really have to do that. So I literally was talking. For example, I originally taught on surviving martial law. That has nothing really to do with healthcare.
Right.
They just wanted me to come and talk about it because Informed Health Choice Missouri, yes, it is medical, but they're also survivalists, preppers. It's our people. Okay. So when they asked me to come back, I didn't have to try in any kind of medical health care or anything like that into it. Mm-hmm. However, when you start talking about implants and the government controlling what you put in your body, what you can and can't have, what you can drink, what kind of housing you live in, that's where, in a sense, healthcare comes in.
I think that the whole virus situation we just went through a couple years ago was really just a precursor to see like how far, what can we get people to do, right?
Absolutely, a test run.
Yeah. It was just
I don't
so
doubt that
willing.
For a second.
And it was interesting too, because having come from California, one of the big, we're green and we eat farm to fork and non-GMO and all of this. And then when you looked at like the specs of that vaccination, it was literally like an mRNA modifier. It's like, you are the GMO now. Like,
and how long did it take to get those specs? For a long time. And you open up that piece of paper, there's nothing on it.
Yeah.
And that poor guy, I think he's in Pennsylvania. I can't remember. I think he's Amish or the government's come in. The Pennsylvania government's come into he's making his own food, and people are buying food off of him. But the government doesn't like that because they're not getting their cut.
Wasn't the Amish guy? Wasn't there a firearms avenue of that involved as well?
I don't know, but they're going to look for any avenue they can, the government, to come in and get their finger on something, because it's about control. It's always about control of the government. And,
honestly, on my podcast, I don't usually, I do talk about being wary of government control, mostly from the aspect of like, there was more crime inside of the Superdome when Katrina went down than there was outside. So if you would have been prepared, you wouldn't have had to go to that government site, and then you wouldn't be a victim to that crime, right?
Right.
And I really try to stay away from politics and whatnot. But last election, during Trump's election, is the year that the powers that be of Facebook totally wiped me out. And, you shouldn't be bitter or whatever, but you know what? I had a lot of connections and stuff there. I had paid them money to host my business there and all of this. And to find out that your voice could be erased, like years of work, of putting it in, of getting followers, of making a presence so that you can, help people make informed decisions, to just have that erased with just in one night was absolutely sickening,
Yes, it's heart sinking. It's gut wrenching, because I know we're not. I've talked to authors about, it's not about the followers. It's sometimes it is, because the more followers you have, the more your word is getting out. The more,
right. The more people.
To me, it's not about money.
Yeah, we're making, prepared people equals prepared communities equals a prepared country to be able to handle this. And
right, bigger your audience,
right, to be able to handle
it's
what's
like
coming.
If you're just talking in your living room to your neighbor, from next door,
what good are you doing?
That's just one person.
Right.
But if you have a large network of people, then you're your voice is getting out further.
Yeah.
I get it, because I'm on like my second or third Facebook account, because I've been silenced so many times, and I'm still heavily shadow banned.
Right.
I used to, when I had thousands of followers, I could put out something, get hundreds of responses. Now I put out something, I'm lucky to get 6 responses.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, every time. And I mean, even like I have a big presence on Twitter and that, but it's still like the same. I don't know what the deal is there. But that really hurt. And so for the UN to come out with like misinformation is our biggest adversary. Mm-hmm. And like most of what you hear in the news is walked back days later, but they make a big deal out of it, the lie, when it happens. And then they walk back the lie, but nobody ever pays attention to them walking back. They're literally out there misinforming people. And then, but people with platforms like ours are the ones that are being targeted. And it's disgusting.
It's 180 degrees. Everything they say, it's 180 degrees.
Yeah.
And not everything that they're fact checking. Like, they have their own independent fact checkers, which they're all left leaning individuals anyway. I want to read to you real quick, if I can, something here and this was a Facebook post, and I literally, or I can't remember where it came from, but I screenshot this, and because I dug it up and I found something, and I'm all about, I do my own fact checking, okay,
right?
But I don't censor other people. That's the difference. All right, so I saw this post. It's apparently from Klaus Schwab. If you know who Klaus Schwab is,
yep,
he's like the chairperson for the World Economic Forum. And this says, from Klaus Schwab's book, The Great Reset, it says, at least 4 billion useless eaters shall be eliminated by the year 2050 by means of limited wars. And it goes on to say a bunch of stuff, all right? And I'm like, well, does it? Because I literally went and bought this book. Because if it says it, I'm going to, like, quote this, put it in my Agenda 30 book.
Right.
All right, so I screenshot that, and I did this, and I wrote this, and I've been seeing this a lot in social media. To be clear, this quote isn't by globalist Klaus Schwab, although he may think non-elite peoples are useless. I bought the book and did a search to see it for myself. It's not there. So I Googled the phrase, which I should have done in the first place, and it turns out it's from John Coleman's book, Conspirators, Hierarchy, the story of the Committee of 300. A little bit of research goes a long way, I said. That got censored because somebody didn't like that. And I literally fact-checked. I got fact-checked by the fact-checkers.
You got fact-checked by the fact-checkers, and they were like,
yes.
you're not reading the book right.
No, it's like the 180-degree theory. So they're saying it's fact-checking, but in fact, it's bearing the facts. It's not checking the facts. It's bearing them.
Yes. And that's why, if this is, I don't understand what's going on. And, so there's that saying that goes, if you don't do something when they come for your neighbors, then there's going to be nobody left to do anything for you when they come for you. Right. So, I mean, it's kind of the time. I don't think it's time for us to be quiet. I think it's time for us to get louder, because I think that, the voices have to be heard, and the people have to be heard and know that they're not alone. We all know there's something coming down the pipeline. We all know that we're going into hard times ahead. Hopefully you've been preparing and not just dancing, like a crazy person in the street or whatever, but we're going to have to come together at some point if we want to weather the storm. And it's just my opinion. They'd rather do nothing more than to keep us all separated and just fighting in our corners. So the voices have to be heard, or else people just feel so alone.
I agree.
So, yeah, okay, we squirreled on that one. I knew we would tonight. So the situation, let's take it to a simpler situation. You're in a survival situation. And you, Doug, I know, would do nothing more than not want to go into any kind of a government program, because once you're inside the gate, you're inside the gate. So what's the line? What's your, when would you give in?
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
Herein goes all the 1,000 variables. All right, because everybody knows that government assistance is the equivalent of government crack.
Right.
Okay. Once It's like going, okay, I've never had crack before. Let me, I'm feeling bad. Let me try this out. And then you're addicted, and then you go back.
Mm-hmm.
And then guess what? When you go back, well, the first time was free, but now I need you to do this. Now you got to pay this much. The price has gone up, because they know, the crack dealers know that they can give you that first freebie a little bit, and you'll come back paying whatever you have to, because you absolutely have to have it. And that's the case with the government. Anytime the government gives you something, it's just nothing is for free. First of all,
right.
Side note, somebody's paying for that. Us, the taxpayer.
Fair enough. Yep.
Right. Point B is now that you are taking something from government, you are now being regulated. Like now you owe them.
Mm-hmm.
What do you owe them? And for what is the line? Well, there's a lot of variables. Is it just you? Is it just you and your wife? Is it your wife, your dog, and your two kids? Your wife, your dog, your three kids, your cousin and his family. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Who are you taking care of? And what are you willing to sacrifice? Because it all boils down to sacrifice. It all boils down to what are you willing to lay down and how long are you willing to do this? Because once you say yes to something like that, you can't get out of it.
Oh, I
without
love
a fight.
that. Personal sacrifice versus government assistance. That's really what it is. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. People don't want to sacrifice anything. So they're just like, please help us. And then here comes the new laws and the new regulations. And now you're just trapped.
Yeah. So you like that nanny program feeling you got there? You like that buzz that we gave you with the free food stamps? You like, we're gonna cut your food stamps now because we feel that you're not contributing enough to our little group here.
Uh-huh.
And where does it end?
Right.
Oh, you can't go now. Sorry, we're talking about your book, right? Your story stuff. So now if you're engaged in taking from this new government, which you know very little about at this point, how much are they going to take back from you in return? And at what point are you going to become a slave to the system?
Yes.
These are the questions you have to ask yourself.
Yep.
If it was just me, no, 1,000 times no. I'll die starving to death, fighting, stealing.
Right.
I'll
Whatever
do what I have to do to survive.
Yeah.
But I love my family greater than myself. So that would be the hard thing for me. And then we'd have to come to an agreement. Me and say me and my wife, we got kids, let's talk this through because this is where we're at. This is what we need. This is what they have. And this is what it's going to cost us.
Right.
Is the sacrifice worth it?
I love that.
And do you know all the fine print?
Yeah.
You won't. And they'll never be shared with you either.
It's what they say it's going to cost you. But if you go back to the crack and the crack dealer, how many of those people look good after a year, right? They're out on the street just, letting loose all their bladder and everything else. They're not better off for taking that drug and having a happy moment, to get away from their sorrows.
Their teeth are falling down, their throats, their necks all itching, they're balding, their eyes are red. They got tracks up and down their vein, their arms, and they got no clothes, and they've given everything. They've sacrificed everything for a feel-good moment.
So when we were in the green room, we were talking about how the states, that's how the federal government kind of keeps them on the drip, right? And so, I'm in Texas, so let's get into Texas a little. God bless Texas. I'm so glad that Governor Abbott stood up and was like, no more. Because it was just a ridiculous situation. We have 31 crossings with bridges where people don't have to worry about drowning and everything like that, put up defenses, and the federal government literally removes it. Some of those cities down there are sleeping like 3 people wide on the sidewalks everywhere. I mean,
it's one thing for the government to not enforce border laws, but it's another thing to encourage it. It's to encourage the violation of breaking border immigration policies. It's another thing to go and cut and to participate in this fentanyl problem we have.
Enforcement of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let cartels in. Let human trafficking in. Let the fentanyl in. Let all this stuff come into the terrorists come into the border, and now we have all these people in, and This is a true story. I know somebody has a Mexican friend, and he's come over on team times. What he does is he comes over, gets free money from our government, goes back to Mexico, changes his name. He just comes back and calls himself something different, and they don't check.
Right.
So they give him more free money. He's making $4,000 a month doing that.
That is just insanity.
The very definition of it. And here, after that, remember early on when Texas first started putting up the Concertina wire, in comes this federal forklift lifting it up.
Yeah.
And you could see Border Patrol agents helping them across from the Rio Grande under the wire, the Concertina wire. I mean, it's total madness. And I understand a lot of these guys are doing what they're told and they don't agree with it, Well, but there's also an oath that they all swore.
Exactly.
And many people listening to this probably read my book, Oath Takers. That's what this is about. At some point, you have to say no. You have to have the moral courage and the ethical courage to stand up for yourself and the oath that you swore to the Constitution and not enforce unconstitutional laws.
Yep.
In fact, when you're told to do something illegal, you have an obligation to refuse it.
Yeah, and Abbott's letter was beautiful. I mean, he cited out everything in our constitutional rights that says, if the federal government's not going to, because when the Union was made, Texas is a country. It's the Republic of Texas, right? We were our own
country, right?
Commonwealth. Yeah. And there's no way that Texas would have sided and gone into the United States Union if we didn't have the right to protect ourselves. And so that was very carefully stated in there that, yes, that does fall to the federal government. However, if the federal government can't do it, it's going to, and there's an invasion, it's going to fall back to the state right. And that's exactly what they're invoking, is that it is an invasion, because quite literally it is. If these people had gun in their hands and uniforms on, we would call it nothing else other than an invasion. And
there's nothing in the Constitution that defines invasion.
Right?
You don't have to be armed to invade a country.
Yeah, exactly. There was an article that China had done about if they ever went to war with Russia, all they would do is send 1 million people in there and then have them surrender. And then send 1 million people in and have them surrender. And send 1 million people in and have them surrender. And by the end of the week, their systems would get so taxed from taking care of that extra population that they would crash the country. What is happening here?
Yeah. Well, I was driving the dollars down.
Yeah, I was reading the FEMA report, getting ready for tonight, and they had a whole thing about how the increase in population is putting more stress on all the the FEMA systems and all the first responders and everything else. Well, let's just bring in millions of more people and see what that does to the stress on the system.
Right.
By the way, the United Nations is funding $372 million to these illegal immigrants so they could be taken care of in their illegal crossing into the United States from Mexico.
Yeah, that's where I keep thinking about your books. It's going to be the blue hat soldiers.
Yeah.
Yes. This whole thing is playing out exactly right. So I wrote book 1, the Tyrant series, and I went back and wrote a prequel to that. So that prequel is literally what is happening right now with the border being invaded and terrorists coming in as, guised as
Johnny Homemaker.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But they come in and they're unchecked and they're nobody's vetting these guys. And then what happens after that? Well, we haven't got to this point yet in my story, but what happens next in my story is the terrorist portion of that, the bad element, they start blowing stuff up in the United States.
Right. And then you got to handle that.
Texas people. Yes. But then you got your Texas people, and other people who are like-minded, they're being called radicals because they're extreme right-wingers. And so your conservative groups are they're going to become domestic terrorists because they're doing something about it. Huh?
The 180-degree theory.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
all over the
place. Your good guys, good has become evil, and evil has become good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. It is just, and what a corner now for the president to be backed into. Like, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't now. I mean, he's either going to have to step back and allow Texas to do it, or he's going to have to threaten one of the states within his union.
Well, here's the scary part, Sarah. I really don't think that this guy is making any decisions.
Yeah,
I just think he's a front man. He's a face. He's a Muppet. And this is just me. I don't know this 100% certainty, but I would, if I was a gambling man, say that Barack Obama and Michelle Obama are behind this.
Yeah, I don't know who's behind. Again, who's the they? But I can tell you that you can look at Biden's speeches, and he must have had a severe 180 in his life, because everything that he used to support, he doesn't support now. And his eyes are just completely blank. I mean, just like blank. When you see him, you're just like, are you serious? What do they have this guy on? I mean, he used to have a spark of intelligence there. At least he could recognize other people's good work and try to make it his own and things like that. But
gone now.
Yeah. I have no idea. Like, so what do you think about? I mean, we're already deep into the political scheme. What do you think the Democratic Party is going to do about this election? Because they're making a big deal about the Trump run-up. That seems to be all they're talking about is the Republican side. But are they really just going to put Sleepy Joe back up, or do you think they'll use their superdelegate and throw somebody like Newsom in there?
You know, you guys, I'm going to sound stupid for saying this, but I'm going to say it at risk anyway. The news on TikTok is more genuine than anything CNN and Fox and these other mainstream media groups. But I'm telling you, because you're seeing stuff that's being you get your Epic Times. You know, I follow Epic Times. I follow some legitimate. I just don't watch the mainstream stuff. I mean, I do, but I don't put a lot of weight in.
I watch them on Rumble. I can't do the TikTok thing. It just I just can't.
Well, there's algorithms. If you there's I don't know, you know what there's algorithms, and so I get feeds. I get to pick out pretty well, choosing, you know, the algorithm finds out what I like to watch, and I see these things, and so I get a lot of videos on the Texas, you know, we'll call it a standoff, some other things that are going on in the world, and people go down there with their little cameras, their cell phones, they take videos and stuff. That's the stuff I care about, because I can see that. It's not just somebody going on Fox News and putting up a picture that could tell a million words, but it's not the real million words. It's not the true story.
And some of the pictures aren't even true these days.
Right. And I saw a while ago, a video of a huge migrant caravan, which I recognize as a 2018 caravan.
Mm-hmm, right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm talking about. So it's not always, I like the news stuff.
No, but fake news, right? Like, I mean,
which is a Trump slang, the left, you know, Trump word that the left now like to use.
Yeah. And it always seems like everything they're accusing everyone else of is exactly what they themselves are doing.
But the reason why I brought that up was because I saw on there that I guess they've convinced Michelle Obama, Big Mike, to run as president. And I don't know if he's going to do it or not, but that's what I've heard. And so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, this is why I don't do politics, see, because it's just, man.
Your blood pressure gets up.
I know. And it's just so frustrating. Like, as a good person who only wants to see like the best kind of things for everybody, it's just really frustrating to know that there's like people out there that would just hold themselves in such high esteem that they would, want ill things. Oh, well, it's for the good of the people, right? I mean, obviously I write about it all over in my books, but,
who's good though?
It sucks.
Right? You know, it's like, who decides that? Who decides what's right and wrong?
God.
To us,
I mean,
but when
right.
the government's in charge, the government says,
well, that's the problem. They don't have a basis for their moral judgment. That when it's left in the hands of humans, there's no basis for that stand. It's just your opinion of what's good and bad. So it can always be argued, pushed, prodded, and there's no standard.
Which is why conservatives are always held accountable and liberals are not.
Yeah.
Conservatives have morals and ethics.
Yep.
Liberals do not. Therefore, there's no standard to hold them to.
We even hold ourselves accountable more, you know? Like, oh man,
the
I
A-word,
have said, right? Yeah. So, okay. Speaking of, I'm going to get to Changing Earth news today, but, all right. So we've had season 3 going on. Season 4, honestly, is over halfway written right now because I'm just so excited to get through that season and be able to record that one. But of course, since you're playing TJ, I've got to ask you about some of the storyline stuff. Get the TJ response right.
Have I I can't remember if I've recorded this stuff. I know I'm not caught up with the audio, so I hope these questions you're about to ask me, I'm caught up on.
You've already recorded them. So beginning of season 3, Swenson loses Ryan. Ryan gets killed by Erica's kid. So, and Ryan was like one of Swenson's main dudes. He was out chasing her, right? So I was like, okay, you just lost one of your main guys.
Not good.
Yep. Yuri and Sergey go up to get her up in Montana, and they miss her by like seconds, right?
Well, if you want something done right, you got to do it.
Right. That was Swenson was all tied up with Hernandez at that time. And Hernandez is the wheelchair. He's in a wheelchair from TJ beating the hell out of him one night. So that was right. That was classic. That was good stuff. And then Margaret and the lie and the baby. Did that one catch you off surprise?
Yeah. Babies, especially when you think about babies being born in this time frame, it's like, be careful because
right?
I mean, yeah, it's like, you really want to be raising a baby in this kind of environment
right now. But what do? You got to be fruitful. So, but that one was classic. Yep. And then finally gets the go north to go after Erica. And I just loved your when you were done recording, you're like, oh, he's right there. I was like, yep. So I know that was like a bad part to leave everybody with, but had to be done. I'm almost done with the end of this, with putting together this season 3. So yeah. So how's
season 3's all been recorded, right? Season 3's all been recorded. So the stuff you've sent me is the season 4 stuff.
It's for season 4. Yeah.
Okay.
No spoilers allowed. I know.
No spoilers.
Right? Chin was always trying to catch me on spoilers, and now that he knows the stories longer, you're just like, oh, I can't say that. Oh, no. I'm like, yeah. Now you know. Yeah,
because in my mind, it all gets kind of quadrupled sometimes because I'll record like a season 3.
Left off
exactly. Yeah. I record like a season 3, listen to season 4, but I'm also recording season 5. It's like, where are we at?
Yeah, tell me.
Did she just air to know where we're at?
Yeah. On the podcast, what book, what season, a chapter of Virgis are we actually airing? Yeah, I'm in like 8 spots of my stories all at once. So, so I
gotta be extra careful. Yeah, only to answer questions when prompted to answer them,
right?
And not to say anything more.
Don't take this personal, Doug, but I would always ask her if we got Swenson yet. Did Swenson die in this episode?
Swenson ain't going to die.
Yeah, he's like, dude, I hate that guy. I'm like, oh, he's getting his own story now. Yeah.
You better mind your footing, boy.
Oh, my goodness. I spoke out of turn.
Oh, that was the best at prepper camp when you just walked up on Ryan and just was all, Yuri, what are you doing? He's eating his taco, just fumbles.
Oh, yeah, he was spitting burger out of his nose at that point.
He was. It was hilarious. So, well, it's going to be fun.
I totally scared the hell out of him. He thought that Swenson was right behind him.
Yeah.
I heard his butt pucker shut real tight.
Seriously.
Sonic boom, yeah.
Well, he didn't even know you, right? That was like the first time you met him. Yeah. So that would be
unnerving. Now he knows.
Yeah.
I'll have to make sure next time I walk behind him not to make any noise at all.
Yeah, right. Do the sneak up.
I'll get him. Yep. He'll see me coming otherwise.
What are you doing? Oh, I almost spoilered out myself. I'm going to have to just peel off of that conversation.
It's easy.
If we keep Sarah talking long enough.
Yeah, it's true. I'll be like, so the part where, oh, no.
Don't. You just did a homer.
Well, you got to catch up, man, because Yeah, those scenes at the end of season of the block that I just put out, that's some good material. Everybody's really up their game, so it's been good. Now I got new music.
You just published?
No, the audio dramas that just came out.
Yeah.
Those ones. Yeah, they're all up right now. I'm just waiting to do the end of the show. I have one more. I have episode 16 to put together, and then we'll be putting that up. And we'll do another blooper episode soon for everybody.
Yeah, because I've been on the bloopers I've been doing. I've just been because used to I used to cut everything. I got tired of doing that. And I'm like, this is too much work, just dicing everything.
Right? Yeah.
And I feel crappy for that because what I'm doing is pushing my work off on you. Then
no, you know what?
I
have to take the. I take this word out and put it with this one. I have to cut it up anyway as I go, right? Because it's got to go into a conversation. And there's times when you guys are like goofing around or whatever, and I actually take some of the goofy stuff and use it in other places, or, I use some of it. So it's good. It's good. Like the big belt she left me on the last one. Yeah.
Oh, you like that? You can use that. Because I actually gave you, I remember sending you some sound effects at one point of grumbles and groans and things like that. These are things she can use.
Yeah, the bag work that you just did as well. Giving me the sounds of the heavy bag. That was
nice.
Spectacular. Yeah, now I'm going to have to do it for my character. So
I think one time I even ate, like when I was eating, I ate with a mouthful of food. Just to complete the experience.
Yeah. Yep. No, I actually like that. I like it. It makes it more candid. So Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, I'm going to whip out the Change in Earth news real quick. You want to stick around, or are you going to take off? What you want to do?
I'll stick around, listen to the newsio.
All right. Let's rip through some Change in Earth music real quick, or some Change in Earth news real quick. I'm going to play that weather music. All right. So today is January 28th, 2024. Had an interesting week, kind of highs and lows. So today, as far as what's happening on our sun, we do have some large coronal holes facing Earth. We're looking for earthquake uptick associated with those. We got a big one last night in Brazil. There are some large plasma filaments, but everything appears to be stable. There's also some incoming sunspots, but they're looking pretty stable as well. Of course, we have to keep eyes on those because you never know what can happen with those. It has been a cold week in the United States. We've had some crazy weather all across the board. So on January 22nd, there was 407 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 7.0 in Xinjiang, China. It was a huge earthquake that hit China. They had a massive landslide associated with that event. 18 homes were buried by the dirt. 500 people had to be evacuated out of just that situation. And 44 people, unfortunately, lost their lives. 2 people were rescued okay out of that landslide specifically. But it was a nightmare of a scenario. They're just as cold as we are right now. And a lot of people just lost homes. So they're out there bearing the weather, and big old earthquake. In the United Kingdom and Ireland, Storm Aisha hit. 3 people died in that event. Tens of thousands of people without power. They had 107-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So roofs were getting ripped off. They've just been at it. It's been really trying for them. In the southwestern United States, San Diego was hit with a 1,000-year storm. 1,000-year. We've talk a lot about the 100-year storms, the decade storms. This was a 1,000-year storm. Thousands of people without power, millions of dollars of damage happening down in San Diego. It is an absolute mess down there. And, they have the large homeless population there as well. So with all that flooding, I bet you it's just doing awesome things. In the Dominican Republic, they had flooding due to intense rainstorms. 455 homes were lost there. Northwestern Mexico, they had the same storm that hit San Diego, affecting Tijuana. In central eastern Brazil, they had intense flooding that's affecting homes and businesses. And Panama was hit with a super tornado. So all of that cold air was pressing down, hit that tropical air. They had some serious storms raging across Central America. Panama is hit with a tornado. On the 23rd, there was 507 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 6.3 in Vanuatu. Northwestern China, that earthquake that hit, they had another event, was only 8 miles deep, 3 more people killed, more injured, 1,500 displaced, and 1,500 homes destroyed. In northern Colombia, they're having a severe wildfire event there. 27 active forests burning. 2 states of emergency were declared. One of those was in Bogota. In Russia, this is on the Kamchatka Peninsula in the Far East. They had a severe snowstorm. They had snow drift 6 foot deep. So you're literally making a path to your doorway at this point. Obviously, public transportation was down. We're talking Siberia, though, in the wintertime. In central eastern Brazil, the rain just got worse and worse, got really, really deep. Cars absolutely buried in that rain. So it was a multi-day event. And then there was a huge wave that smashed into the U.S. military base on the Marshall Islands. If you guys haven't seen pictures of that, you should go and check that out.
You see that poor lady outside the door?
Right? That just got smashed right through it? Yeah, dude, it was crazy. I'm like, that's why I don't do islands right there. Nope. Nope. No, thank you. All right, on the 24th, there was 481 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.5 in Kyrgyzstan. There was a 6.2 in the Guatemala region. Southeastern Texas had flash flooding due to heavy rain. There was 14 inches of rain that came down in some Texas town, luckily not mine. But the southern United States, Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi all saw flooding. Some of the areas had 1 month's worth of rain in one day, including Baton Rouge. The North was pretty much rebounding from extreme cold. We're talking New York, Montana, the Dakotas, Oregon, Tennessee, and others. That cold that came through killed over 90 people because of the extreme weather. And Canada, Ontario, Canada, got hit with the same severe snowstorm that Michigan, New York did. UK was hit by another storm. This is the second storm that came through, Jocelyn. It canceled flights in London and just really walloped all of the UK all over again. And then there was an extreme flooding event in Malaysia that only got worse and worse. And by the 26th, some of the homes were completely flooded all the way up to their rooftops. So it just kept going and going. On the 25th, though, there was 453 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.6 in Indonesia. There was a 4.2 magnitude in San Bernardino in SoCal. And there was a 3.5 in Louisiana, which is, I always keep an eye out for those weird ones, especially around the New Madrid fault line there. Louisiana's a little far south, but interesting to see an earthquake pop up there. Snow absolutely paralyzed Chicago. That's up in your neck of the woods, a little way north of you, but there, Doug, you get a bunch of snow at your house?
We didn't get any snow. We got a lot of rain recently, and before that we had some ice.
Okay. You must be just below where that line is.
What was the line again?
Like in Illinois, Chicago probably takes more snow and ice storms and stuff like that than Southern Illinois. They can have
it all. They deserve it, but I'm way down south. Yeah. They sit right on the lake, so I'm way down south, close to Missouri, Mississippi border.
Because Chicago used to get pretty much in line with what Michigan did, so... Okay, where are we at? Colombian wildfires still going crazy. Northwestern Iran got a heavy snowfall, which is always interesting to see the desert covered in snow. Northeastern Australia, Curly, that's the name of the tropical cyclone, Curly, made landfall. 170 mile an hour wind gusts, just ripping with wind, storms, ripping roofs off, and then just torrential downpours as well. They saw some flash flooding actually today from that coming through. Iceland, there was in the southwest, there was a major ice storm. 36 accidents happened on their highways there. Same with Alaska. They had a massive snowstorm with a 37 vehicle pileup due to low visibility because of the fog that rolled in. 13 people were injured there. On the 26th, there was 423 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 5.3 in Japan on the Philippine Sea. Colombia calling for international aid at this point to help battle these wildfires. And in Brazil, they got hit again with more rain on their central eastern side and this huge water spout that started up out in the ocean. In Indonesia, they've had intense rain past 3 days. River settlements are being flooded from the overflowing rivers. On the 27th, there was 444 earthquakes that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was a 6.1 in Santa Rosa, Guatemala. There was a severe earthquake uptick at Kilauea. They're keeping their eye on that one. And there was a 3.3 earthquake in Northern California. Wilmington, Illinois. Is that anywhere near you? The Kanekane River? Kanekane?
Never heard of it.
River that's overflowing. There was an ice jam in it, and it's broke and overflowing. And then the Iceland volcanoes keep continuing to go. They're now worried about, I cannot say the name of this city. It begins with an R, though. And they're worried about that city getting hit by lava flows as well. So Grendavik's already getting hit, and now they're worried about this other place. And there's like a Blue Lagoon up there that people go visit. Also, it's just a lot of lava going on Iceland right now. On the 28th, there was 420 earthquakes. That's today that were 2.0 or bigger, biggest of which was that 6.5 that we saw in Brazil last night. It was a deep quake, so we didn't see much damage from it, thank God. Queensland, Australia, getting hit with that flash flooding, and also they're having severe flooding in Pakistan and India right now. As far as volcanic eruptions go, there's 28 volcanoes actively erupting, mostly in Indonesia. That's up one from last week. There's 15 showing unrest, mostly in South America, Pacific Ocean region. That's down one from last week. And there's 32 showing minor activity, also down one from last week. So one of them has come off our list. And we have no states reporting wildfire right now. So that's always a good thing. All right. Whew. That is the Micro Machines version of Changing Earth News right there.
That's a lot going on.
Right? I know. It was the earthquake starting it out was pretty crazy. That the pictures coming out of China is insane. Just of the landslide and everything that happened there, was pretty bad. So
I'm surprised as big as that country is, a landslide like that will catch any person.
I think a lot of times they build down at the bottoms of the base of those mountains because it's so fertile there. You know, there's a lot of non-fertile ground. Mm-hmm. Yep. So makes sense. Same with Indonesia. I mean, they're always getting walloped, but the ground there is so fertile because of all the volcanic rock and whatnot. So it's your trade-off. Not going there, though, either. Sorry, Indonesian people. I'm not coming for a visit. No islands.
No islands.
No islands.
No islands, no base of a volcano.
I'm good.
Pompeii, here I come.
Right? Yeah, that would just be my luck. I'm like, no. So, alrighty. Well, thanks, guys, very much for joining us. Doug, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. I could just have you on like every time. We'd just be squirreling all over the place, though. So
I know. Why'd you cut off the green? We need to go back to the green room. We were going hot and heavy over there.
Right?
Talking up a storm.
I know.
How much of that got caught at the front end?
Oh, I've got it all. I've recorded you the whole time. You just don't know it.
There you go.
You gotta watch yourself right there.
I'm glad you have no video.
Right? No, I don't want to forget. If I start it later, I forget, then I'm in trouble. So No.
Well, it was hot. It was good. So yeah, feel free to share that.
Yeah, I'll put it up, like I say, on the members area, and then performers in the show, you guys get access to it anyway. So you're good to go.
At least they'll see and know that I am Bible based. It's not all just political stuff. I'm very Bible based.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that big time. So I think that's where our focus needs to stay, because there's just so much. It can be overwhelming if your faith is not strong. So
yeah, because people get caught up in the fleshy stuff. The stuff that you can see and hear and how you feel your emotions. That's all. It's all part and parcel what's really going on.
Right. All right, and then you got to get caught up on the podcast so that you can go ahead and do a TJ rant for me when we do the blooper show.
Okay, I'll rant it up.
All right, let's close up the show. Thanks again for coming. If you guys want to find Doug, now he's on the PBN community, so obviously you can find him there. Where else are we going, Doug?
ldhogan.com. You can pretty well find me everywhere. That's like my base of operation anymore. So I got some. Find my podcasting there. You can find my books there, which will take links back to Amazon and stuff like that. So therein it lies.
All right, I love it. Keeping it easy. So.
Yep.
All right. Until next time, remember: dream,
survive,
thrive.
Thank you for joining Sarah and Chen for this episode of the Changing Earth podcast. Don't forget to pick up your copy of Day After Disaster, Without Land, The Walls of Freedom, Battle for the South, Dark Days in Denver, and The Endless Night at www.authorSarahFHathaway.com. If you love the Changing Earth series and podcast, become a supporter while you're there.